Hi everyone, and welcome to the fourth night of our Fashion Interpretations Symposium. This is the penultimate event in our week-long run. We are so excited to be here with you, whether it's your first session or you spent the whole week with us. My name is Fran and I am Fashion Interpretations Networking Project Administrator. So for those of you who might need some quick background information on the project, Fashion Interpretations is an AHRC-funded research project led by Dr. Rebecca Arnold from the Courtauld and Professor Judith Clark from the London College of Fashion. And we are an international interdisciplinary network focused on the ways modern and contemporary fashion is continually reinterpreted through varied mediums. We are seeking to gain insight into the ways representational modes translate and reconfigure the meaning of fashion itself. So tonight is a very special event. Tonight is our Fashion Illustration Masterclass with project member Richard Haines. Richard is an artist and a fashion illustrator who works and lives in New York. When Richard moved to the city to pursue illustration, he instead found a successful career as a fashion designer, where he developed a keen eye for the often overlooked details of form, fabric, and how a garment falls on the body. After years in the design world, his career came full circle, and he's now one of today's most sought after fashion illustrators. Tonight, Richard will open our session by discussing the work he's produced for the project, which focuses on line and illusion, and he'll be showing us some of his wonderful Procreate drawings, after which he will then begin the masterclass. Finally, we will end the evening with our usual Q&A session. So please, if you have any questions for Richard about his work or regarding the masterclass, please pop them in the chat box and we'll aim to answer as many as possible. So without further ado, I will now pass you on to Richard. Richard, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and leading this very exciting event.
Fran, thank you so much for that lovely introduction and for putting up with all my questions about getting this going. And also thank you, Liv. And Rebecca and Judith, thank you so much for including me in with this incredible group of people, and Dal and Jane. And it's incredibly exciting to be here. We're going to do a lot this hour. First, I want to talk about the work I did for the project, which centers around what is a drawing, a mark, or an indication of a mark, something that I'm always thinking about and constantly obsessed with. So I'm going to start with some slides and we'll talk about this and then we'll go into the drawing. I want to start with a couple of images from my favorite illustrator. This is Richard Bérard, a French illustrator from the 30s and 40s. This is a drawing for a Paris Vogue cover. I mean, the fact that this was a cover of a magazine is so extraordinary. I mean, I would love to walk down the street and see this in a newsstand. It's just so refreshing. I love all of his work because it's so gestural and so spontaneous. I mean, his work is never overworked, and that's something that really resonates with me. I mean, there's so much information on this cover without it being obvious or overdone. The background here I think is extraordinary, and it really does so much work for the drawing. I mean, it literally just looks like he's throwing down color and then putting this black line image over it, but it's so perfect and so successful, and then just kind of hitting it. I don't know if you can hear the train behind me, but we're starting rush hour in New York, and just hitting it with a little white that just kind of pops it. But again, in terms of someone who I find incredibly inspiring, Richard Bérard is really my go-to. Another set of drawings for magazine around Schiaparelli. I think this is her collection from 1938, 37, Circus collection. And again, there's so much information given.
Sorry, Richard, it's Fran. Just to let you know quickly that your screen isn't sharing. If you just want to.
Oh, sorry.
The screen share. No, sorry. I just wanted to let you know as quickly as possible.
Let's see. How can I get that to share? Oh.
There we are.
Oh, wow. All right. So I'm going to start over. So no one saw,
Not that. I don't know.
yikes. Okay. Well, that's good. That's kind of a test run. Okay. Everyone see?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to talk about, again, about line and medium and drawing. I wanted to start with this Vogue cover magazine by Christian Barrard. If you heard the audio, I'm not going to go through the whole talk about it again, but I love the kind of the simplicity, but it's very graphic. I will go to the next. And let's see, for some reason, the images are not playing. Here we go. This is a 2-page spread, again, by Barrard. I love the simplicity of it. If you look in the upper left corner, just that horse is really just the gesture of a horse. I mean,
Sorry, Richard, I'm so sorry to stop you again. It stopped sharing.
it stopped again. Is it just stopping? Is it a glitch?
I'm not sure. Maybe if when you put it on Keynote, if you share and put it on Keynote, if you don't put it in the full slideshow. Yeah, we're back now.
Okay.
Are you able to move slides with it like this? It stopped again. I'm so sorry, Richard.
No, I can't. I can't move them then. Oh, actually, let me see. But this is a really small image, right?
Yes, it is small, but we can see them. We can see them.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Let me see if I could just, well, yeah, I don't want to lose everyone again. All right, you know what? I'm just going to keep talking, and
Great.
hopefully my laptop screen is cleaned up.
Thank you.
This is actually such an important image for me. The background of this is a door at the Guerlain Institute in Paris. And I've looked at this picture. It's a chamber that leads into another larger room with 2 consoles on either side. And it's really this kind of grand door. And what I always thought was painted in trompe l'oeil. I mean, it's been referred to by a lot of decorators. It's very well known. So I was in Paris in March, and the Guerlain Institute is on the Champs-Élysées, and I was staying close by. So I just had to see this door itself. So I went into Guerlain Institute, and it's very French and very Parisian. And this room is upstairs, and I kind of had to beg and explain that I was an illustrator and how important it was to see it. So they let me go take a look. So I walked into this room and saw this door, again, assuming that it was trompe l'oeil, it was painted. And it turns out that it's pieces of fabric torn and sewn on to cotton velour. So the fact that it was fabric to look like painting, to look like a carved door, to me was so extraordinary and such a kind of meta moment about medium. And it was really a revelation, and it got me to thinking about texture and the possibility of medium, and really what is line and what is the mark that we leave. So I took these pictures, and again, you see it's strips of grosgrain. So again, a line can be a piece of paper and a pencil, it can be charcoal, it can be Procreate, or it can be a strip of fabric. So again, this is kind of, because I was anticipating it to be something totally different, was a revelation. So leading into that, I did a series of drawings on Procreate. This is an iconic hat by Schiaparelli. All these drawings are all pieces from Schiaparelli. It's the famous shoe hat turned upside down. And again, this is on Procreate. So it takes drawing into a new medium. I mean, it's an interesting medium for me. I realized looking at these drawings later, there's so many options. I don't know if you all are familiar with Procreate. There's so many options to kind of recreate a brush, and a brush with oil, and a brush with watercolor. But what I'm most comfortable with is really just using the eye pen as a pencil and kind of having it really respond as a pencil, and then applying color. But I also love the fact that this is a trompe-l'oeil shoe as a hat, but it's also, in a way, it's a trompe-l'oeil Procreate drawing of an actual drawing. So there are all these different kind of levels happening, which I find really exciting. Another piece, a dress from Schiaparelli. It's hard to see here, but it's a torn dress. This is a collaboration Schiaparelli did with Dali, and they're bits of fabric that are painted on to look like they're ripped. And again, going to kind of tricks of the eye, trompe-l'oeil, the fact that it's fabric, but it looks like it's been ripped. And then this is a drawing from a photograph, but it's actually not even really a drawing. It's an image on an iPad. This is another piece from Schiaparelli. After the war, it's a bit of a different silhouette from a photo by Hoenigan Hune. There's more color here. It's more graphic. But again, this is, I'm always going to be much more comfortable with pastel or crayon on paper, but working on an iPad just gets me thinking differently. I respond to shapes differently. And it's a valid mark. It's just a different mark. This goes a little bit back to, I'd like to think, the Vogue cover by Barrard, of just taking color and having it be the backdrop, and then drawing over it. And then, black line with hits of white. This is a little bit softer, from the 30s. It's also interesting, the next set of drawings are from a New York designer, a contemporary designer named Christopher John Rogers. And I realized that drawing clothes from the 30s and drawing contemporary clothes, it makes my hand want to respond differently, because it is so, well, you'll see the difference. I mean, this is probably mid 30s, and it's very soft. And so now we go to something contemporary. And again, for me, it's much more graphic. It's much more about shapes. I love his designs. I love this collection. I don't know if you can see, but there's kind of a gesture of like a bra or breastplates. And again, it's trompe-l'oeil. So there are themes that kind of go throughout, but this is done in a very modern way. And because of the graphicness of it, it just makes me want to draw differently. I mean, this, again, the clothes are so wonderful and graphic to draw. The hair of the model becomes so much a part of the drawing, and a design, and the way it kind of takes up space. It's a really beautiful photo. Another piece, just the back, again, very simple, using graphics, negative and positive. Same here. So, and again, I mean, the color block, the suit really just becomes like another form of a color block against that blue. And then the hair, also another kind of block. that is the last image, but yeah, it was so interesting to really explore different mediums and different techniques and kind of how we respond. I mean, I was thinking it's so interesting that we're doing this on Zoom, and in a way, it's just like another level of the kind of meta-ness of things being virtual. Like the fact that we're looking at drawings from a collection that were drawn on an iPad that are shown on Zoom, and now we're going to draw from Zoom, and then we'll post the pictures and hashtag them is so. I mean, to me, there's nothing more beautiful than a drawing, but we're kind of taking it and putting it into new, different contexts and adapting it, which I find really exciting. So, with that, let's go to some drawing. How are we doing time-wise? We're good now. So, Fran, I'm afraid to close anything out.
Yeah, I've got, so if you just stop your screen sharing.
Okay.
Perfect. And then I will just add ties if Ty can. Start his video. Perfect.
Hi, Ty. So what we'll do, I'm going to expand my screen to go to full screen. And let's see. Fran, should I pin Ty so I can get him larger? Or will you make it larger?
If you
I see that there's a question. Someone wants to see my wall. We can, we'll have some time at the end to do questions, and I can just kind of show you where I'm sitting.
If you can put, if everyone could put their view to full screen, then you should be larger.
Fran, how do I look at Ty full screen? Do I pin him?
It should be, sorry. Is that better?
There we go. Yeah. Hi, Ty.
Perfect. And then if you want to be full screen at any point, Richard, just let me know and I'll
No, we'll do that at the end.
Perfect.
So this is I've drawn a few times on Zoom. I mean, I will be totally honest. The last time I saw Ty was at a friend's drink and draw, which was last winter before COVID, obviously. It's lovely to see you, Ty. It's such a different sensation to draw a model on Zoom, but this is what we have, and I think it's actually really interesting. And I'm excited about everyone posting some of their work and tagging it. You'll see the hashtag, and maybe we can have a conversation, because for me, one of the most exciting things is to see what you're drawing. So that's perfect, Ty. So what I thought we'd do, maybe I'll do a little bit longer. Maybe we'll do like 90 seconds. We'll do 5 90-second poses, just gestural. And let me see, I'm seeing questions. Hi, Richard. How do I start a drawing? I start from the top. I've seen some people start drawings. Sorry? Okay. I've seen some people start drawings from the shoulders or other places. Voice keeps going off. Okay. Ty, that's a great pose. And I start at the top and then I work down. So let's, I'm going to time these. So I'll make this 90 seconds. And they're gestural. So I don't know if you all are familiar with what exactly that means. It means, because there's such a short amount of time, we're really just getting the essence of the figure. What I see now is beautiful shaped head and this the bent arm, and then this massive body, the shoulder going up, this the right shoulder, which is it's a very straight line, and then just a bit of the leg. So before I start the timing, I was talking to someone the other day, and we hadn't met, but he said that he'd seen me around, and he said, "Oh, I know you were an artist." And I asked him why. And he said, "Because you're always staring." So I think there's just something about kind of always looking at anything and seeing it differently and having the opportunity to express it differently. So we'll start, this is gonna be 90 seconds, then we'll just go into the next 90-second pose. I'm seeing a question, can an enlarge model? I think, Fran, this is the largest we can get the screen, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. If the people who are asking to see Ty larger, if you go onto your view tab on the right hand corner and put it to full screen, you should be able to see Ty at full screen.
Again, I understand this is not optimal, but it's what I think is great is it just gives us an opportunity to kind of have a communal bit of time to make some drawings. And again, then if you can share some of these on social media, we could just talk about them more. So that's the first 90 seconds, and I will show you what I came up with. I don't know if you can see that. This bit of light hitting it. But again, I'm not going in for any detail. I'm just really going for the gesture and going for shape. Yeah, I know, the joys of online life drawing. It's, yeah, Ty, I think, yeah, sitting down is better because then we can see, yeah. Okay, so what I see here is enlarged, yeah. I see this very straight line of the shoulder, the head angled, this one arm on the right shooting out, and a very enlarged foot. Don't get hung up on details. My suggestion here, because of the limitations of how we're working, don't get hung up on, don't get hung up on size of the screen, but really just kind of make the best of the situation, and just kind of be in the moment, enjoying a live model. So we're going to start now. This is 90 seconds. It's actually really, it's a very cool pose because that foot that's in the foreground is so enlarged. If you can just kind of, I mean, that's always a challenge for me, drawing background and foreground. So if you can just kind of take a leap of faith and make it a much bigger foot the way it is. I love the folded leg and just that arm behind it shooting out. If you look, you see a little triangle that's negative space. It's actually really beautiful. Okay, so again, I'll show you what I came up with. Again, playing with foreground and background. Ty, maybe let's do one with the jacket off.
Oh, that was going to be next.
Okay, okay.
I've got a little story here.
Oh, good. All right, then do your story. Okay, that's actually lovely. That's really beautiful. So again, what I see here is this beautiful shaped head with a bit of a three-quarter profile. These arms just kind of shooting down. And then everything right now I'm seeing is very triangular. So I will start the time right now.
I'm slipping.
If you have time, you could even get the shape of the settee behind him is so such an incredible shape. It's just kind of this arch. Okay, so let's why don't we do this? Let's go to a 2-minute pose. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's go to a 3-minute pose. So this will be a little bit longer. You can study the shape more. You can spend more time on the face. I mean, what I usually do when I have more time is really look at the form, look at the what's happening around him, kind of look at the positive negative space, and then I go in for something specific that I really want to focus on. And right now it looks like the screen's frozen.
Yeah, it looks like Ty's screen might be frozen.
Should we do a couple of questions?
Or we could pause maybe and you could show us your
Okay.
drawings if your
All right.
your screen is slightly larger now.
Okay. Can you
Yeah,
see that?
perfect.
So I tend to draw really quickly, and one of my biggest discomforts is when I'm in a drawing class and they say, all right, this next pose is going to be 35 minutes, because I tend to finish the drawing in about 15 minutes and then I have like 20 minutes to kill. And then I mean, I've really had to teach myself how to slow down, because I do like to draw so fast. And that's a very personal thing. So again, I just wanted to go for the shape. The suit is really like a block. I went for that, the chair behind him. And I wanted to get a little bit of a detail on the face, because I think that bit of a profile is so lovely.
I believe that Ty is back with us.
Is Ty back?
If Ty can just share his video, and then I can pinpoint him again. There we go.
There's Ty.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, nice shoes. Ty, you're a bit cropped. Yeah. Okay. It's still tight. Can you move your camera up? Because you're cropping out. Yeah, actually that's better. That's great. So this is going to be 3 minutes. I mean, clearly I would focus here on I love the shoes. Actually, you know what? I like the bike wheel. I think it's fine. This is really,
Exercise.
yeah, this is as is. So this will be a 3-minute sketch. Profile's beautiful. What's really standing out for me here is that negative space, that triangle between Ty's torso and his arm. Okay, time's up. So what I mean, I love all the things like I love the shape of the chaise, and I love the wheel. I love how Thai is just so angular. So let's do, let me see the questions. So enjoying this workshop. That's good. Okay, so let's make this looks like this could be a 5-minute pose. So Ty, let's do 5 minutes. And you'll hold that, right? I mean, the first time I drew Ty, I mean, look at that face. Look at no, I'm talking to not you. I'm talking to the eye. Look at that incredible nose. I mean, Ty is there's like so many incredible angles here. So again, the beautiful nose, just this little bit of space between the torso and the arm, and that flat palette of makeup. Just the way the legs fold in, and even, you could get that mirror in the corner. I mean, there's just so much wonderfulness here. So this is going to be 5 minutes. You have a little time to stop and really take in the composition, and then work it out on paper or iPad or fabric. 5 minutes. I have a thing about hands. When I've seen some people draw and they really get intimidated by hands, and they'll have this beautiful body, and then they'll just be these kind of clumps, like, blocks of wood. And the thing about hands is if you just stop and break down the shape of hands and fingers, you could start getting somewhere. And it's so much more successful than just kind of being intimidated by it and not doing anything. I mean, that's so much a part of my drawing, which is just, if you start a drawing and think, I can't do this, it's like driving a car. If you think you can't do it when you start a car, it's not going to be as comfortable as if you just say, I'm driving this car, this is great. So I think if you go into it with like, this is going to be great, whatever is an issue, I can work through it. It's all those things, all those feelings come across in the drawing. So a lot of it is just kind of preparing yourself mentally to really take in everything. Another thing that I had mentioned in the brief, which is really important, a line and a drawing for me is a very organic thing, and I don't use erasers. If you're using an eraser, I can't see you, but if you're using one, set it aside. Do not use an eraser. It's a leap of faith to just kind of jump into the drawing, and if you don't like where a line is going, move it around. And that engages the viewer. It keeps the flow going. It keeps the energy going. I do not use erasers.
You told me that last time.
What's that?
You mentioned that last time you painted me.
Yeah. I'm left-handed, so there's always a smudge. So I use erasers to clean up the smudge, but that's it. We have 90 seconds left on this. It's one thing that I love about Christian Barrard's work also is he just puts the line down. It's completely unapologetic. It's spontaneous, and that to me is the beauty of it. It's never reworked. Okay, that's time. Fran, how are we doing on time? Should we do?
It is 17 minutes too, so I reckon we could do one more pose and then take some questions.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay,
So why don't we, here, I'll just show you what I did on this. I really love this pose. I love the close-up tie of your face. And I love that gesture of applying makeup. It's very kind of elegant. It's very kind of theatrical. So let's do one more 5-minute and then we'll take some questions.
Never mind.
I think if you can, the more
Not
like that last
standing,
pose.
or
Yeah, I'm getting a comment more open, but then we really can't.
yes.
We just see you from like the shoulders down. You know what type? Yeah, maybe.
Am I there?
No, just sprawl out on the chaise. Just kind of lay out on the chaise because it's too. Yeah, that's great. That's actually okay. Lovely. So this will be 5 minutes. Yeah, even better. Okay, last pose. Again, beautiful triangle happening there around his head. Just the kind of arch of the way his body falls into the chaise, the way the legs are folded, that hand, and those wonderful shoes. So that's my quick take. So 5 minutes starting now. I mean, I have to say, as strange as Zoom is and kind of disorienting, it is a wonderful thing that we can all sit here and kind of share this time drawing. This actually makes me very happy. Someone asked about the hashtag. The hashtag is I believe the hashtag is Fran would have it, or I'll put it on my Instagram. It's hashtag Richard Haines, Haines Masterclass. And again, I think if you know, each of you would like to post a couple of drawings, I think it would be such a great way to continue this. I always look forward to the end when everyone lays out a couple of their favorite drawings and just talks about, you know, the shared experience of what they've seen. And sometimes I've worked with people in a class and the last drawing is completely different than the first drawing. The last drawing is usually so much looser and there's more confidence. So it's great to see that. You know, we don't have a lot of time here. When shading fabric, there's so many great questions here. Yeah, that's Fran. So again, I mean, drawing is a very singular thing, but then I think when we kind of come back together and share work and we can, you know, positively comment on other people's work and get ideas from other people's work, because it can be it's very much a solitary practice, but it's also very much a shared practice. And I mean, that's what hashtags are for. I mean, when I have a little time in a drawing, even just the molding, you could just kind of add a little bit of a line there and it places the body. It kind of evokes a setting and more ambiance. Something else I love about Christian Barrard, he would just add a few lines of that, or even add a line of a wheel, and it tells so much about the viewer. I mean, really what we're doing is sharing information of the viewer to other people. So the part of that bicycle wheel is an important part of the story, as is the molding, as are the shoes. And even I think these little pencil shavings to kind of tell a story. And that's time. Phew. Thank you, Ty. You're incredible. So let's do some questions. Thank you, Ty. You stick around if you want to, or we'll be in touch later.
Thank you so much, Ty. Okay, great.
I wanted to show everybody my nails. I got them done just for today.
Oh my God. I was just gonna say, Ty, I mean, what I love, like you completely thought through everything and there was such a story there. And it's so collaborative and lovely, and I really appreciate it. And that your nails are gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you, Ty.
I was just wondering, Richard, before we start the questions, if you could just show us your drawings again quickly now that you're
okay. I mean,
larger.
This is the most recent one. And I mean, what I think I'll do, just to kind of get this hashtag going, I'll scan these and then post them, and then, you know, it'll get that conversation going.
That would be great.
Um,
So Liv, do you want to start?
Yes, so we have a few questions for you, Richard. First of all, one of our audience members would like to know what materials you use and if you have a preference.
I usually, I kind of go through like 5-year phases. For a long time, I was using charcoal sticks. They're charcoal pencils. They're really inexpensive. There's the string and you peel the paper back, and it's very kind of controllable charcoal. But then you have to spray fix it before you apply the color. So I've stopped using that. And right now I use like quill pens and ink and just dip it into the black ink. And I love the line because it's the tip of the quill, the nib rather, is so fine and you could really control it. So I've been using that a lot for the last, I don't know, 5 years. And then right before lockdown, I actually was going to live drawings and started using these kind of oil crayons in different colors. So it just gave a different line. So, I mean, bottom line is what you're comfortable with, but I like to kind of stick with one medium for a while.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
We have another question from Owen. When shading fabric, do you do so in the direction of the fabric or more in keeping with the movement of the body?
That's a good question. I really, I don't like to get caught up on, I just kind of put it down. I mean, I don't really even think about it. I would say it goes more towards the body. I mean, it's really, for me, the shading is just an indication. I mean, if you're talking about clothing, it's really, I mean, I love the way fabric creases. And I love to kind of go in, you know, like when an arm, I love to like go in like that. Shading on a face, you know, you could just add a few lines like where the nose is. Everyone has their own way of doing it, but I don't, to me, it's almost kind of a gestural afterthought to kind of bring in a suggestion of what's happening, if that makes sense.
And Richard, one of our audience members would like to know if you ever go back to your drawings and add detail after the timer goes off, or whether you just go through in 90 seconds and leave it and call it done.
I call it done. I mean, and again, you know what? There's no right or wrong. Everyone has a different way of drawing. I know for myself, whenever I go back into a drawing, it takes the spontaneity out of it, and it kills it. I mean, my biggest challenge when I do commercial work, commission work, is to present the drawings to a client, and then, you know, 9 times out of 10, which is their right, they'll say, you know, we don't like this shirt. Can you change it? And then I have to really go back and completely redo the drawing. And one of the biggest challenges is to incorporate their changes, but also have it look really fresh and spontaneous. And some people they'll do a drawing and then scan it and add color with Procreate, again, which I think is fantastic. I wish I could do that because it would be probably a much simpler way of doing it. But I've never gone back into a drawing because I know once it's done, it's done, and then I want to move on. But there's no right or wrong in that. It's just me.
So Maria has asked, what is the best way to organize a more close posture?
I'm sorry, what was it?
What is the best way to organize a more close posture?
Organize a more close posture?
Maybe more closed, more confined, as opposed to an open pose.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I've done a few drawing sessions like this on Zoom, and I mean, Zoom tends to flatten everything out. And I mean, we had a very limited screen because we have people in London and people around the world, and then Thai is probably like half a mile from me. So there's a lot of different dimensions happening here that I think tend to flatten it. I think because of Thai's, the size of the screen, which I didn't anticipate, it was best to kind of move in. I don't think there's, there's really no right or wrong pose. It's really kind of what's fitting. If we were doing this live, it would be a very, very different experience. Just because it's three-dimensional. This is a very two-dimensional flat surface. So I think what's important is to really have a pose that's working for the environment, working for, some clothes tend to make poses respond differently. Really depends.
And one of our audience would like to know if you've always drawn in this sort of quick paced manner, or if you've had any formal or academic training.
I did have academic training, not in fashion illustration. I really taught myself that as a kid. When I moved to New York and I thought I was going to be an illustrator, and I was not really, I just didn't have the confidence and the mental capacity to do it. And I look at the drawings and they were really bad. They just were very stiff and very, I call them people pleasing. Like I wanted everyone to like them. And so they really were just kind of wound up being nothing. So it took me almost all my life to like just kind of work all that out and really kind of do drawings that I think represent what I see and what I feel in the best way. I do like to spend more time sometimes on a portrait that involves more work, but I know what works for me, and that's usually very fast and very gestural. But again, it's very, that's what works for me.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
So one of our audience members has asked, does the material you use differ depending on whether you're drawing for pleasure or at a live class, versus drawing directly from a runway at a show?
That's a really good question too. When I draw from runway, and I learned this the hard way. One of the first times I did it, I went to Oscar de la Renta and I had a little pot of ink and a pen and I knocked the ink over. It's just like, I don't know what I was thinking. They were very lovely about it, but you don't ever want to go to a showroom and get ink on samples. So that's always a charcoal stick. Most people who come to me for commercial work know what to expect, and that's usually, as I said, right now it's pen and ink, so they expect that, and it kind of makes sense. Like they're not going to come to me for something that's very computer generated and very digital. So by the time they come to me, they know that this is what they expect and this is what they're going to get. So it's kind of an unspoken dialogue between the client and me. But also, I mean, I love drawing live. I can't wait to go to a fashion show again. And that's always charcoal and a small pad just because of the logistics of carrying that around.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for this evening. It's been amazing. And
thank you all. Thank you, Fran and Olivia, for being so patient. And
no, it's been wonderful. So much fun.
Okay, and, thank you. Go ahead.
Really, really fun. And just to remind everyone, the hashtag that Richard mentioned earlier is, as he noted, hashtag Richard Haines Masterclass. And yeah, if you want to reshare your work from tonight, we will be more than happy to share it on our site.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. I mean, I can't see anyone, which is so bizarre, but you all know that. I mean, I can see Fran and Olivia, which is actually really lovely, but it's such it's a whole new format, a whole new world. But thank you all for coming and for being patient. And I look forward to seeing some work, and I hope you all, can see things a little differently or have something to take away from this. So thanks.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.